Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you again for sharing your time with me. It means the whole wide world. So today it's February 1st, so it is time to do my January wrap up, which is, I think, one of my favorite things to film. That's why I wanted to start this channel in the first place, because I would do these little videos on Instagram, and then I was like, let's just do the whole thing and bring it to YouTube. So I really like these videos. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first book I started 2021 with was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I hope I pronounced that correctly, fingers crossed. This book was so precious. I was really excited to get to it. I bought it quite a few months ago, I think, at this point, but I bought it in 2020 and I just hadn't gone around to it, but I was like, 2021 is going to be the year. And I'm so glad I started off with this because it's a really short, simple read. Like, the font is quite little and the book itself is quite small, but I think there's a lot of value in the story. It's about a woman. She's, I believe, in her 30s. Anyway, she's a grown woman and she's completely fulfilled and content working at a convenience store. I think what stood out to me the most about this story is the fact that success and happiness looks different to everyone, and that there's this misconception with success and adulthood meaning an office job and being married and having children, when that's not the case for a lot of people. And that's definitely something I connected to very deeply, because sometimes I feel very at odds with the world, and I know a lot of people do. And this book kind of just makes you feel like that's okay and that there's nothing wrong with you not following the traditional path, which I think is a beautiful thing for books to include in their narratives, which I feel like oftentimes that gets excluded. So for those reasons, I really, really loved it. The book, though, I think the little quotes that other people have said about it tend to, I guess, accentuate the comedic aspect of this book, and I really don't think that's the point of this. I really do think there are deeper things being discussed in here, and I would urge someone that's reading this to not necessarily look at it as comedic, because I don't think it really is. I mean, mind you, there are some things that you can chuckle at, but I think this is definitely more of a layered read if you allow it to be so. So yeah, that's the first book I read, and I really, really loved it. Okay, this next book, guys, is a nonfiction, and my goodness, this is a nonfiction done well. Well, that's kind of a bold statement. I read a lot of wonderful nonfictions, but this is just a book that I was completely mesmerized by. I was so amazed at this man's ability to write a nonfiction. Mind you, he has written fiction novels, so I do think he kind of uses that talent and brings it into this nonfiction realm, making it, in my opinion, more accessible to people that tend to gravitate towards fiction stories. And that is We're the Weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. Safran? Oh my goodness, this book is incredible. Like, I have a strong feeling already, and it's month 1 of 2021. I have a strong feeling that it's going to be in my top books of 2021 because it is phenomenal. I do want to warn that it is a very heavy book. It is a overwhelming book at times. It is a daunting book at times. But I think it's completely worth the read. It is, oh my goodness, it is so brilliant. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say much more other than I dare you to go into, I'll even leave the link down below, to go into, I believe it's Amazon, that gives you a PDF of the first few pages of this book. I dare you to read those first few pages, and if you're not hooked, forget about it. But I'm so certain you will be hooked, that if you are hooked, you have to read it. Did that make any sense? I hope it did. That's my dare. Read the first few pages, and if you're not hooked, I don't know what to tell you, because holy shite, guys. In the first 2 pages, I was like, this is over for me. I know this book is going to be, I loved it. And I hope you do as well. The third book I read is a book that I read alongside 2 of my dear friends, and that is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Guys, I feel like this is going to be kind of the theme here. I'm trying my best to read books that I already own, and this is a book I purchased early in the summer months. I found it at my local secondhand bookshop, and I was like, I've heard great things about it, let me pick it up, because I think I paid like $7 for it compared to its usual $20 or whatever it is. So I was like, I know I'll get around to it eventually, but I just hadn't for whatever reason. And because my friend was like, let's read it together. Done deal, say no more. I'm reading it. And I am so thankful that I did. This is just such an interesting read about a family dynamic and how complex family dynamics are to begin with. This is definitely a story that sparks a feeling of impotence as you're reading it, but at the same time, it sparks awe in you towards Jeanette Walls in particular, because she is so resilient, and the fact that this is her true story is just so insane. And also it depicts such a powerful father-daughter relationship that I feel like there's just so many layers in this book in regards to that relationship that could just be analyzed forever. It's so powerful. Yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting. A beautiful memoir, and I highly recommend it. Also, guys, I'm coming to the realization that I had a phenomenal reading month, and there's very few, no, there's nothing negative really that I have to say about any of them, so I'm very excited. The next book I read is The Mothers by Brit Bennett. Honestly, I'm just sad I let this poor, beautiful baby sit in my bookshelf for so many months. Honestly, I'm sorry, past me, because what a disservice I did to myself. This is, wow. Mind you, I have not read, those were parentheses if you were wondering. I have not read The Vanishing Half, which is another one of her novels, and I know people absolutely love that. I will get to it, I promise. This was phenomenal. Holy, I don't want to keep swearing, so I won't swear. Brit Bennett's writing, so incredible. I was really, truly amazed by it. It is just a high level of writing that I really enjoyed, and I devoured it completely. This is a story about two adolescent teens. They're, doing their thing, kind of in love, kind of not in love, whatever it is that they are. And she gets pregnant and she decides to have an abortion, and it's kind of the repercussions that follow that, and how your one decision when you were 16 follows you forever. I saw a review that asked if this was going to be kind of like a pro-life, preachy kind of book, and I cannot express enough that is not the case at all. In fact, it's just an exploration of the complexity of your decisions, and how whatever it is that you decide in life has an effect on something else, and that's just inevitable. It's not so much like, oh, the specific decision to have an abortion leads to that. It's just, life is so complex, everything is intertwined, everything has an effect on something else. And I think that's such an interesting thing to read about. I truly cannot recommend this book enough. I think it's so brilliant. This book kind of gave me a similar feeling to, oh my god, Celeste Ng's book. Shoot. I'll put it up on the screen because I can't remember. But that one, in regards to how elaborately intertwined everything is, but in a very seamless manner, they both kind of resemble each other in that way. This is very much what I wanted from Celeste's novel, which is also a great novel, but this was just definitely way more up my alley. I thought it was so brilliant, and also such important topics are discussed within the story. Oh my goodness. It's phenomenal. Please read it. I highly, if you haven't already, because I feel like everyone has read it, and I'm one of the last people to read it. I loved it. Then we have a classic, The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This was such a fun read. I just truly had so much fun. I did this as a buddy read with a sweet friend, Veronica, who I met while traveling, which was even more of a wonderful experience. I loved it. I annotated it so much because I was just having so much fun with it. It's always such a fun thing to read classics and kind of just feel like you're in a completely different world, and to read about how people used to talk and the way they express themselves. I always think that's such an interesting thing, and how different we speak now, even though we're speaking the same language. I think that's a brilliant thing to read about. But yeah, it's very dramatic. It can be kind of confusing at times because the way things are described But I don't want to say that it's confusing in the sense that the language is very advanced and therefore hard to understand. It's just the actual concepts in the story, since it's a ghost and there's... I don't know if you read it, I think you understand what I mean. It's not a difficult read at all. It's just a wild ride is kind of what I'm trying to get at. But I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend this if you're looking for a simple classic to read. And then I read another nonfiction, with his Breathe. Breath? Or Breathe? Why can't I remember how to... Is Breathe with an E at the end? Oh my goodness, yeah, English is escaping me in this moment. Anyway, Breathe, Breath, Breathe. What the frick? I can't live with myself. I need to ask for help. ¿Puedes venir tantito, please? Gracias. We're gonna ask my brother because I'm losing my mind. Esto es Breathe? Oh.
Breath.
Breath. Ok. Breathe es con una E al final, ¿no?
Sí.
No sé por qué se me fue.
Sí, pues no, la viste demasiado.
Sí, breath.
Breath.
Ok, gracias.
Read this book called Breathe. Breathe.
Okay, the verdict is in. It's Breath by James Nestor. My brother has clarified it for me. I'm losing my mind. This is taking way too long because of that whole interruption. This is really, really interesting. I'm very fascinated by the power that we have within ourselves without having to actually seek help outside of our bodies, in terms of your inner peace and also your actual physical health. You have so much power and we just don't know how to access it, which I think is really brilliant to read about. However, I think I kind of wanted more of a spiritual read because that's my shindig. But this is definitely more, I don't want to say scientific either because it's not particularly scientific. It's just denser than what I thought, and it's very much, these are the techniques that you need in order to breathe and in order to activate your autonomic nervous system and blah, 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 your parasympathetic, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? The whole point of this book is how wrong humans breathe and the fact that the way we breathe has detrimental effects on our body. And I thought it was very interesting. Did I at times kind of wish this was just the size of an article and not the size of a book? Yes. But that is not to say I didn't learn a lot of valuable things, and I really enjoyed it. And now I'm very conscious about the way I breathe, and I think that's a neat thing. So yeah, that's this one. Then I read another one that has also been sitting on my bookshelf for quite a while, and that is The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. What can I say? It's a self-help book, and I think a lot of the time self-help books get a really bad rep. People tend to think it's a bit pretentious and privileged. And although I hear ya, I get those arguments, I think she makes a solid point right from the beginning and throughout the book that the place that she's in at the start of the book is a privileged position to be in. She is just going from that point and then increasing her happiness from that already privileged point. So I don't think she's trying to make herself relatable to very serious situations that people are in. For example, she also notes that depression is something that is very different to her experience and not something she was experiencing at the beginning of this project. So she never wants it to seem like she's preaching her book as a remedy to very serious issues. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I really, really enjoyed the content because she had made those clarifications and it was just an insight into how people in all different, I'm trying to use an idiom again and we know I'm not good at those. On all different walks of life, choose to find happiness in their day-to-day life, which I think is a really interesting thing to learn about. And also, if you're able to and if you want to, implementing those things into your own life and seeing what kind of result they yield. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Alright guys, the last two books is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This was so fun, but also one of those books that I feel like surface level, similar to, I guess, Convenience Store Woman. Surface level, you can kind of miss the layers that are involved in the story, like the hidden meaning and the deeper analysis. that can actually come out of these reads. Because at surface level, it's just a fun story about these two women that meet when they're in high school, I believe, and then they kind of stay in contact but very vaguely, and then she needs her help taking care of two kids, and they, as you can see in the photo, they suddenly self-combust and they just light on fire. And I'm so glad that I did finally pick it up and read it, because I loved it. Again, there are definitely things in there that if you take the time to actually analyze and reflect upon, there's a lot of value in this book, and I really, really loved it. And it was also really easy to get through, short and sweet, also very witty and funny, and made me chuckle quite a few times, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's Nothing to See Here. Then, last but not least, guys, let's talk about ending on a high note, and that is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. Oh my god. I'm not even gonna say what this is about because I feel like everyone knows, but I will say that it is a memoir unlike any memoir I have ever read, and for that reason I urge everyone to pick it up. Her writing is ridiculous in the best possible way ever. She definitely has that kind of writing that as you're reading it, you're like, I will never write again because the best has been done. Do you know what I mean? This was phenomenal. I loved it. However, there is so many trigger warnings, so please, please be careful if you choose to pick this up. I had a very difficult time reading it. I just had like a visceral reaction to some of the entries because it is very, very heavy content. So for those reasons, you know, approach with caution. But regardless, I think it's a book that really needs to be read, and it touches upon abusive relationships, but specifically in same-sex relationships, which again, I never read on that, and I hadn't even stopped to consider what a multifaceted topic that is and how it's not spoken about enough, and it's not represented enough in any way. So this was truly, truly so brilliant and haunting, and honestly, hauntingly beautiful. Hauntingly beautiful is how I'm going to describe this novel, and I truly urge you to pick it up if you think that is a book that you can handle, of course. But anyway, those are all the books I read in the month of January, and truly, it was such a brilliant, brilliant reading year, and I'm so grateful because it wasn't the best month aside from the books that I read, so I'm very grateful that whatever book I did pick was a really positive experience. And yeah, thank you as always so much for being here. It means so much. I can't believe how kind you all have been to me. Yeah, sometimes I don't really have the words to express my gratitude. I think the next video is going to be a reading vlog because two lovely ladies asked for that in my previous video, and I think that would be a fun new thing for me to try. So I will be doing that in the next video. I already know what I'm going to be reading while I vlog that. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you when I see you.